Hello. Thanks for being here to listen. Thank you to Thomas and to Garnet for inviting me. It's a big honor to be here. So prior to getting into my project, it's actually a related topic. I'm going to talk about stuttering. I am a person who stutters. Stuttering is a communication disorder involving disruptions or disfluencies in a person's speech. There's a lot of misconceptions about what stuttering is, so we wanted to clear it up a little bit. Some people think it's caused by neurological things. Some people think it's emotions or that a person's nervous. In fact, the causes are unknown. No one knows. This is the common face of stuttering in the public. Stuttering John from Howard Stern, who was kind of a bumbling idiot, or this guy who couldn't get his words out in time. And because I've had to deal with these kinds of issues, it actually forced me to explore alternative modes of communication. Things like body language, how to use inflection, and even neuro-linguistic programming. And this is actually a big influence in the work that I've done, and I'll get into that later. So I'm going to start off talking about my project called Undulating Flux, and it's really about a vibro-tactile expression. This is a little bit of context of what the space was like that I was presented in. Here's my spot here. So you can kind of see there's a dancer who I trained to be a vibrationist who's holding Wii remotes, and an audience member in a chair like this one here. And each of these parts is vibrating independently as a vibrationist is moving around. So what did I do here? Because this is a little bit abstract. I engineered and built a vibration rig, this, engineered a motion control interface, composed the music it's performed to, and also co-choreographed the dance moves. And I'm going to explain all of that a bit more in detail in this video I'll play.
Undulating Flux is my first-year project in the Arts Computation Engineering program at UC Irvine. The overall goal of Undulating Flux is to bring the participant into what psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi termed a flow state. A flow state is described as a state of being wherein one experiences a unified flowing from one moment to the next, in which one is in control of one's actions, and in which there is little distinction between self and environment, between stimulus and response. Another term for this state, now common in both sports and business, is being in the zone. My hypothesis is that being in a flow state enables a heightened sensory experience for the participant and leaves one in the end feeling expanded and yet present, energized and yet relaxed. The areas I engage with Undulating Flux are artistic performance, gaming, massage therapy, and sensory assistance. Because this iteration of Undulating Flux was presented in an art gallery, it focuses on artistic performance. I set out to explore 3 questions relating to these areas. What does it mean to feel music and movement together? Can haptic sensation facilitate a flow state for the participant and even be therapeutic? And what are the potential applications of a feeling-enhancing system? Undulating Flux explores these questions by setting up a transduction chain, wherein a vibrationist sends intense music and motion-synced vibrations into the participant's body. The participant experiences stimulation of their eyes and ears, as well as a massage-like feeling in the rest of his body. It is through this sensory immersion that Undulating Flux attempts to induce a flow state. Each Wiimote controls one handrest motor and one footrest motor. The position up and down in the pitch plane controls the handrests, while the position side to side in the roll plane controls the footrests. I designed the controls in this way so that the vibrations that the participant experiences are a sort of mirror image of the vibrationist's movements. The vibrationist and I worked together to choreograph the vocabulary of the vibrational dance language, which is intended for improvisation. Drawing on influences from Afro-Brazilian, Indian, and flamenco dance, we modified the straight-up dance moves, which produced chaotic results in the vibrations, and adjusted the Wiimote position tracking so that we could have more precise vibrational controls. The vibration rig became a sort of instrument, and the dance became the technique with which to play it. The technology behind this project centers around the Nintendo Wii Remote and the Max programming environment. The Wiimote data is streamed into Max, wherein parameters are set to control the intensity of each vibrator individually. A Max package called MaxWino is used to send the control data to an Arduino microcontroller, which is connected to the motors. I composed the music specifically for this project using multiple rhythmic subdivisions and evolving timbres to provide the vibrationist with musical material well suited for transduction. The driving pulse, jagged staccato strings, and thick slow-moving bass are examples of this. The piece was composed entirely electronically using synthesizers and samplers, with the exception of my throat singing, heard in the intro, which has been filtered to sound more like a synthesizer. Undulating Flux is a starting point to working with transduction chains and haptic feedback. It only begins to answer the questions I set out to tackle. Future research in the areas of biofeedback, synesthesia, game technology, philosophy of mind, and Eastern medicine will help inform my work towards developing the efficacy of flow state inducing systems.
So that's a quick overview. And I'm going to start breaking down some of the aspects of how I did this. The hardware, as you can see here, is, I modified mic stands and I cut and sanded steel rods to fit in there so that I can adjust the height up and down easily. And I welded these little balls onto rods. Footrest, really simple. All it is a classical guitar footrest, and I mounted the motors underneath it. I'm using 11,500 RPM motors, and I mounted 3/4 inch steel plates eccentrically on the end, and that causes the vibration. I'm using 2 dual-channel H-bridge motor controllers and the Arduino DSM. I'm running an oscillator that pairs the Wiimote to the computer using Bluetooth, translates the Wiimote data into OSC, and then pipes that over UDP into Max.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
The second point where you say translates remote data.
Wiimote data.
Excuse me, Wiimote data.
Yeah.
OSC. What is OSC?
That's Open Sound Control. It's a protocol that is very common. It's kind of like advanced MIDI, but
MIDI,
it's basically just the way that I could get from oscillator into Max. So Max doesn't understand well, I didn't understand it as clearly. I was experiencing a lot of spikes in data and other little error things happening, reading the Wiimote data straight into Max. And actually, oscillator includes a Max patch that just like had stuff kind of sped up to easily port in. So it's like, okay, I'll try that, and it worked really well. So Max is basically just the data formatter. It turned out that certain positions of the controllers weren't useful. Like holding it all the way up or all the way down. So just kind of in between states and in between speeds were better. So it was kind of interpolating. Maxwino is a package in Max that just formats data so that Fermata on Arduino can read it. It also makes the ins and outs conveniently available. This is a screenshot of the Maxwino GUI, so you can see it's kind of a representation of the Arduino ins and outs. And that's just out of Max batch. Over here, that's just a duplication of the left-hand side. It's just two remotes. So it's like a top-down thing. The data comes in on top. It gets unpacked, formatted, sent out to the Arduino. And I also have controls on there to turn the music on and off, and to turn each motor on and off. Why did I do this? A lot of people ask that. As mentioned earlier, exploring alternative modes of communication. This whole idea of expressing yourself through a physical vibration was very interesting to me. I also have synesthesia ever since I was a kid. I've been hearing music to paintings and vice versa, all that kind of stuff. I have a love of language. I speak 3 and have a very deep interest in how other cultures express themselves. I have a background in music as a composer, an instrumentalist, producer, visual arts, which you don't see in this iteration. In the future, I'm going to incorporate visuals into it as well. And my spiritual practice. I have a belief in everything in the universe being connected and touching. I figured I'd talk about some of the work of others who I'm building upon. There's Paul Bach-y-Rita, who's kind of the early pioneer of neuroplasticity. He invented a number of things, among them the brain port, which interprets video imagery into electrical impulses conducted on the tongue, and that enables the blind to actually see. Biofeedback art, namely the Fluxus artists. You may have heard of Alvin Lucier and David Rosenboom, both of whom use EEG machines in producing music. Especially David Rosenboom has a whole philosophy about this circle of relationships and achieving certain states of consciousness and performance that ties into my whole flow state thing. And of course, you can't leave out Morton Gillig's Sensorama. He's considered by many to be the father of virtual reality. And he basically built this thing. That's the Sensorama. So it was the first kind of immersive, theatrical, virtual reality experience, combining, as you can see there, film, sound, color, wind, smell, and of course, vibrations. The reactions to the piece, on the whole, were very positive. Did I achieve the goal of creating a flow state? Not exactly, but I think it was a good step in getting there. People did feel really good after being on it, and it also facilitated a deeper connection to the music and movement. People felt that they were really feeling everything happen, the music, the dance. But possibly the most interesting thing that came out of this is that people really enjoyed vibrating each other. In between